Well, welcome back to Hinges and Horizons. My name is Jason Steffenhagen, the Associate Minister at the Well, United Methodist Church in Rosemont, Minnesota. And in this podcast, we connect with people about the different hinge moments, those turning points in their life where something happened. It was maybe God grabbing a hold of them, a relationship situation, an event in their life, sometimes even a painful experience. And there was a turning point. And then we also end every interview with asking what's on the horizon. What can you see coming, or what are you anticipating coming down the road? And today we are joined by Andy Schletz. Andy, it's good to see you. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you're connected to the Well.
Well, thanks, Jason. Thanks for having me on here. This is pretty cool. My first podcast ever.
Well, you're welcome. We're so glad to have you.
Yeah. Margaret and I moved to Rosemount from Woodbury back in just at the end of 2005. We were going to Woodbury United Methodist, moved to Rosemount, and geographically, the Well, then our RUMC, I can't even say it anymore. It's been so long.
Right.
Was the church nearby. And we actually had friends of her parents that had been here for some time. So we already were connected somewhat. And we started going, and it did not take long for us to fall in love with the place. It was a friendly community. There wasn't as many families as there were younger families back then. That didn't deter us, but you could tell that there, with the way Rosemount was growing, you knew there was going to be families coming. As time went on, we started having kids and tried to volunteer where we could. Chili cook-off, pancake breakfasts, and just other little things. I think Margaret taught in Sunday school for a couple years. As the kids we could stick them over in daycare a little bit. We could. I started getting into Welcome to the Well, and that was kind of fun. It still is fun. Getting to meet new people all the time. More chili cook-offs, more breakfasts. Yeah, breakfast. And then, now I'm on the nominations committee.
Yeah.
I didn't even know what a nominations committee was. I was like, do you want to be on it? And I think Jim Dibley asked me. I'm like, sure, what is it? So,
I love that you said sure before you asked what it is. That's a great volunteer right there. I love it.
And the way Jim put it, he's like, it's nothing. We just sit and talk about, how we can improve the church and committees and all that stuff. I'm like, don't know what I can offer, but yeah, if I can help out in any way, I'll come. So I started doing that. There's been other things along the way, but there's always something to get your hands into. That's really what I've come to like. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. And I think that attitude is such a cool and refreshing one to hear, is just that willingness and just to jump right in and kind of hear an idea and don't even need to know it all. Just, just dive right in and help make the church better, help make the community better. And so that's really great. And we really appreciate, all that you do. So thanks so much. And so Andy, tell us a little bit about a hinge moment in your life.
When you propose this question, when you start to think back, I think a lot of people have a lot of hinge moments, things that shape who they are, where they came from and all that. So narrowing it down to, a couple is kind of hard, but I think one for me was when, shortly after moving to Rosemount, so January of 2006, I was diagnosed with a tumor in my spinal column called a schwannoma. They're fairly common. Depending on the type of schwannoma, determines how malignant it is or isn't, or benign rather. And you won't know until it comes out. So my surgeon said, yeah, it's in your spinal column. It's pushing on your cord, and that's why you're having back pain. And I'm like, oh, all right. So surgery was about a month later, and surgery went well. The hospitalization was about 5 days, all of which I spent in ICU. And this was at St. Joe's Hospital where I worked.
Wow.
So it was sort of comforting was that most of the staff were staff that I worked with. So I got VIP care for sure. It still was tough. After surgery, my surgeon wanted me to lay flat for 40 hours. I could not get out of bed. When you lay around for that long, you think about when you get out of bed, how stiff and sore you are. Well, the older you are, the more stiff you are, I guess.
I feel you on that. Definitely.
Yeah, and after 40 hours, you can only go side to side. I was on a lot of medication for pain and stuff like that. I had a lot of time to think. I couldn't watch any more TV just because I couldn't stare at a screen that long. I couldn't read because of the medication. Um, so music was a lifesaver. But while I was laying there, and there's no time. If I know there's been other people on the podcast I've been listening who have had medical issues and stuff like that. So um, I can relate, and I'm sure they can relate to what I'm talking about here. But um, it it really was a time for reflection.
Mm.
And with everything I had going on in my life at that point, even though we didn't have kids, moving, I was switching jobs at the time, everything that just goes along with, settling into a new house and stuff like that. I hadn't really taken time to reflect at all on anything, and laying there, I started, thinking about, how bad this hurts. I mean, it really hurt. The best way I can explain it is it felt like Freddy Krueger with his knife hands were squeezing my spine, and it was absolute awful,
Mm.
and it had to turn you. My spine would turn, and it would just, ugh. I mean, it still gives me the goosebumps to this day. When I was laying there, I thought about, what was I going to do when got out of there? Um, because it was like you come to this point where it's like you're tied to this bed. Those four walls get awfully small, and you're like, I'd give anything to go back to work. I'd give anything to just go home and vacuum. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, you have appreciation for the small things and even the mundane and the things that wouldn't have been interesting in your previous life in a way.
You got it. You got it. Yeah, all that kind of stuff. I could not wait. Um, and I also started thinking about, people in my life. My parents are great, but um, I started thinking about my grandpa. He had been gone for some time, and I was thinking about how much he was always helping other people. He was known for this. He would shovel the sidewalk in his midway night neighborhood. He'd go all the way up the block, come back down, and then he'd do everybody's stairs, and then he would do everybody's little walkways, and and then if it snowed more, he'd do it all again. Um,
Wow.
he would paint your house for fun, but he also knew it helped. It made you happy. Um, I thought about this World War II patient I took care of one time who was on the beach in Normandy. And
Wow.
that guy, when I started thinking about him, he told me lots of stories. But what I remember most about that guy was he said, you know, after because he was so calm, and he was so patient, and I remember that day I was really busy. At the end of the night, I got done with all my work, and we actually had a chat. He started telling me about the beach in Normandy, and I said, you're so relaxed, and you're so chill. What, is it because of that day? Well, I get upset once in a while, but most of the time, he goes, if I do get worked up, I think about that day. He goes, nothing is ever that important.
Mm.
He goes, he goes, it, he goes, I don't worry about much anymore. He goes, if I can get through that day, I can get through anything. And that really stuck with me. You know what I mean? And it
Yeah.
came right back to me when I was laying in that hospital bed. And so, I said, when I get healthy, I'm not going to complain about pain anymore.
Mm.
Um, I said, I think I'm gonna run a marathon. I think I'm going to do that. I'm going to do something. I said, I'm going to appreciate my health. I'm going to appreciate others more. It honestly, it made me a better nurse. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It gave me so much empathy for others with pain, and for what others have gone through. In a way, tied it in with the holidays here, it was almost like I got a visit from the ghosts of past, present, and future.
Right. Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, it really left a mark on me. And since then, it's funny now. And then coming to the well has given me so many opportunities to do stuff like that.
Mm.
And I've taken on things outside of the well. I coach soccer in RAAA. I'm on the board with RAAA. I've really liked that. I started coaching wrestling, which I've never done before, but I'm doing it now. You know what getting out there and helping others out, and then making some moments. You know what I mean? Um, that's what that did for me. It really helped me expand and just grow as a person. It really did.
Well, and it's one of those hinge moments, Andy, at least it sounds like one where it's not one that you've kind of lost the visceralness of it, like, because sometimes you hear someone talk about a moment and it feels like, well, as time goes by, the impact of it seems to dwindle a little bit. But what you're describing is something that happened back in '06, and it's 2021, almost 2022. It's 15, 16 years later. And it sounds like that learning and that growth and that like desire to be more generous, to be more relational, to be more present to your life and to others is still just as like it's happening now, just like it was happening then. And so I think what's really impressive about what you went through is that not only did you go through it and learn something, but it's sunk in so deep that it feels like you're still in the midst of living that out right now.
Yeah, yeah. Um, as funny as it sounds, I think to myself that tumor was one of the better things to ever happen to me.
Mm.
As much pain as it caused, and um, yeah, it really opened my eyes a lot. And I won't say I wasn't, the exact opposite of what I am now prior to, but yeah, it definitely left a mark. And
Yeah.
and it's funny how it all times out, because bringing it back to the well, it's really put me in a good spot to really enjoy the moment, the visceralness, like you said.
I just think that's really cool the way that you're navigating and really allowing the events of your life to transpire in a way that launches you into the person that you are today and the way that you're showing up for your community and for church. I mean, I'm just listening to this going, man, like I wish I was half the church member Andy is. Like that's just amazing. So that's just inspiring to listen to.
Well, I look around the well and seeing what other people do, and I still think I could do more. I
We got a great church of people like that, don't we?
Yeah. um, I try to fill. I once heard this interview about I think he was a general, and he was talking about his faith and all that stuff, and what he's accomplished and everything. And what I took away from him, he goes, you're awake about 12 to 14 hours a day. Try and see how much you can cram into there. He goes, you don't have to, you don't have to be going nonstop all the time, but see how much you can get out of it and make the most out of it. And that really stuck with me too. And combined with what we're talking about, you really can. There's always a little bit more you can do. I think I really do, and I'm always trying to find that little bit more. And that's funny. Now that we're talking about this, I got an email today from Katie asking if I want to help out with the family Christmas thing. I'm like, well, there it is.
Oh, that's awesome.
can't say no to this one. So yeah, so there's one more thing to add to the list.
So
So
we know you're going to be there on Christmas Eve. That's fantastic.
yep, yep, I'll be there. But
So that leads kind of perfectly into the kind of the closing question that we have. We know one thing that's on your horizon is showing up on Christmas Eve because Katie asked you to come and you're going to say yes. But Andy, tell us a little bit of like what's on the horizon for you.
well, there's you know there's always family, of course. I have two daughters, Lydia and Colette. They're 14 and 12. And my son Ian, he's 10. Um, the best thing about those three is they all are they all have their own interests. I think the only thing that overlaps is Colette and Ian like to play soccer, but other than that, I got three kids that all like different things, and I love variety, and so that's God has given me that. That's for sure. So, um, and their day to day, activities and all that stuff is more than makes me happy, and it's fun, and they're excited to do stuff, which makes me happy, and it's always fun to hear how their life is going. Um, One thing I'm not looking forward to is my mom. She was diagnosed not too long ago with PSP. It stands for progressive supranuclear palsy.
Mhm.
Uh, it's not very common. I think at any given time, like 100, it affects about 120,000 Americans, right? So, and the best way I can describe it is it's like Parkinson's, but a different protein blocking the pathways. And my mom was always a very jovial person. She's a lot like my grandpa, helping out others. Very active lady. And now she's gotten to the point where she can't talk. She can still walk with the help of my dad, but it's hard to see your parents decline.
Mm.
And um, it's really hard. Um, you take it day by day. As cliche as it sounds, you do have to enjoy every day you have with them. My dad's taking really good care of her, and he's not a medical person at all, but he's learning real quick, and he's doing very well. But um, helping my dad through this,
Mhm.
and of course my mom, and getting through this as a family, it's some there's some dark days ahead. You try to mentally prepare yourself for this, and I don't think you can.
No.
I think you just have to take it as it comes, and just know that you got other friends and family to help you through.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Well, Andy, my heart breaks for you and your family, and just know that you guys are being lifted up in prayer, and we'll be thinking about you. And if there's any ways that this church family can help out, and our team as pastors and other staff members, like we want to surround you guys as best as we can, and to really show up for you guys. And so just know that you're loved and you're cared for, and that we're on the team with you as much as we can be. And also, I think your perspective on it is just such a refreshing one to just hear. Like, take it day by day, and appreciate those moments. And like you said, it is cliche, but cliches are cliches for a reason, and it's because there's so much truth in them. And when you were talking about your mom, the best versions of our parents is when they turn into superheroes, and it's hard to see superheroes that have lost some of their power. And so I can only imagine what you're experiencing, and so my like I said, my heart's broken for you. But also, I know that you're pretty perfectly primed to enter into this space with them, with the work that you do, and that's a small comfort to know that you can answer questions that someone else can't, and to hear it from their son is going to be really meaningful, and to have you walking them through this would be really powerful. So keep asking for help when you need it. Keep getting your rest as much as you can with those three young ones, keeping you busy. And just know that we love you, and we're on your side, man.
no, thank you. it's a lot of good stuff there. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Yeah, um, yeah, you can't go through, and as much as you try, you can't go through this stuff alone. Uh,
Right.
yeah, it's good to know that there's people out there that'll just give you a hug or a pat on the back when you need it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Andy, thanks so much for your vulnerability, sharing your story with us. Thanks so much for modeling just that servant heart, and a joyful heart too. It's evident in everything that you do, just the joy that you go through life with. And so, thanks for being a part of the well. Thanks for being just a part of the community that we're building, and we look forward to a whole lot more. So, thanks for joining me on Hinges and Horizons.
I like to talk, so this was fun. I appreciate it. I really do.